The history of Drum Corps International on television and the big screen is fascinating. Okay, I admit, I'm a little biased here, but the evolution is quite something. A young DCI needed all the publicity it could get. And remember, these were the days before the internet. After holding its first two championships in Whitewater, Wisconsin, Drum Corps International took the show to Cornell University in Ithaca, New York in '74. That piqued the interest of the nearby Syracuse PBS station.
Public television is on location, capturing the spirit of summer 1974 in central New York. This week, our cameras are at Sholkoff Field on the Cornell University campus in Ithaca, New York, for the third annual Drum Corps International Championship competitions.
They paired upstate New York Drum Corps guy Tom Pesci, who was with the Rochester Crusaders Senior Corps and an occasional show announcer, with a station staffer.
They called me and they said, well, we need help. We don't know what we're doing. And that may have been the understatement of the year. They were willing, they were able, but they didn't know what to do.
Ultimately, they did a recorded show featuring the top 5 corps in prelims. The stadium's lighting was too poor to do the night show.
Now, I got to admit, we cheated. After the show, I got a phone call and they said, we got to fix some things. And I went into the studio and I was there for the editing and we did a few voiceovers.
The show played in Syracuse and the DCI championship had dipped its toe into the PBS waters. In 1975, DCI's new public relations guy, Don Whiteley, somehow convinced the PBS network to carry the entire finals live from Philadelphia.
Welcome to Franklin Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where tonight the top 12 finalists, drum and bugle corps, will be competing.
Freshly aged-out Santa Clara Vanguard drum major Tim Moxley got the call to move from the podium to do the show with Boston radio host Jess Kane. Tim was all about it, but he didn't get much wardrobe advice.
So I went out and bought this blue leisure suit. I had my Hawaiian puka shells that I had been in Hawaii the year before when I graduated from high school. And you know, my long blonde hair and all that stuff.
Yeah, Tim was looking sharp that night, but he wasn't terribly comfortable.
That very first PBS thing we put together was prehistoric. I think we were down by the 10. I don't remember exactly, Steve. I think it was down by the end zone, and we were just standing up through the whole thing. And I remember these guys giving me index cards to introduce everybody.
With big studio cameras roaming the sideline, DCI was live on the PBS network for 5 hours. And that was big. In '76 and '77, game show host Gene Rayburn and wife Helen were matched up with former Trooper drum major Pete Emmons.
Hello, darling. And with Pete Emmons.
They had a table and chairs and a much better vantage point than Tim. Hey, Rayburn was a national celebrity after all.
They were both great people, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. They really liked it. But she was just blown away by it. I mean, he was too, but not quite as much as she was. But they were a delight to work with it, and I really enjoyed it.
The costumes are really exciting, weren't they?
Absolutely magnificent.
Pete was back in Denver in '78 with a new partner, NBC sportscaster Barbara Hunter, a female pioneer in that field.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Hunter, along with drum corps expert Peter Emmons.
Come 1979, Pete was off writing drill for Santa Clara, and a 25-year-old TV news guy from Watkins Glen, New York, got the call up to the big show after 2 years of doing DCI East and DCI Canada broadcasts.
I think we are going to see a real rat race as we did last year, and I fully expect to see some shifting around in the prelim positions.
The set was in the stands in sultry Birmingham, Alabama. I was paired with Judge Wapner's sidekick from the People's Court TV show, Jim Peck, and legendary jazz trumpeter Maynard Ferguson. What a thrill. Maynard was the man. I was sneaking peeks at his lip to see if it had any superhuman qualities.
whatever.
How in the world do you top Maynard? Hello, Rita. Rita Moreno, who was the first to accomplish the rare feat of winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. Rita Moreno, of West Side Story fame, was doing DCI.
The color, the pageantry, the music, from Rimsky-Korsakov to Stan Kenton. Who can beat it? This is, to me, is theater.
She was an absolute down-to-earth delight, despite Birmingham's heat and humidity, made worse by blazing TV lights. Customs complications prevented us from doing the '81 championship from Montreal, so we marked DCI's 10th anniversary contest with a broadcast of DCI Midwest from Whitewater. Rock and roll drummer Carmine Appice of Vanilla Fudge fame joined us. It was an experience.
From Olympic Stadium in Montreal, highlights of the 1982 Drum Corps International Championships.
We made it to Montreal in '82 as my role changed from analyst to host. We were joined on that chilly night by Canadian big band leader and trombone player Rob McConnell. Several corps had played his Boss Brass charts. It was another big night when Broadway choreographer Pat Birch and jazzman Chuck Mangione joined me in Miami in '83. Pat shined a light on corps' footwork and visual design. So many corps had been playing Chuck's music, it was a special treat to have the man and his hat in the stadium to hear it in person.
I was just knocked out with everything that happens, and I'm looking forward to seeing another one real soon.
We started to shift directions a bit in the mid-'80s, going more inside drum corps with the cadets Dr. Richard Santo, then DCI judging guru Don Angelica, and judge and educator Michael Coomer, polishing our music as art image in the process. We went even more highbrow in the late '80s with the dean of the Indiana University School of Music, Charles Webb. Dr. Webb loved opera, and he found drama in our stadiums.
What a tremendous experience these young people are having.
Visual designer Michael Cesario added to the drama when he joined the team.
We're going to see an unparalleled profusion of pageantry and pattern.
Poignantly put.
Indiana businessman and Star of Indiana founder Bill Cook stepped in right about then and saved the broadcast during this turbulent financial time, partially funding it and bringing in other sponsors. Bill learned about drum corps when his son Carl brought him a tape of the '79 broadcast. He knew how important it was to the future of the activity.
Why not make it something that can impact so many people at once?
1987 also marked the beginning of the Tom Blair era. For the first time, we had a drum corps guy in the director chair, much to my delight, a former Cavalier drummer, with numerous network TV sports credits. Change was in the wind.
Live from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, the world's best drum and bugle corps meet for the 1989 Summer Music Games.
We built on the Olympic fervor, embracing our competitive side with the Summer Music Games and a musical theme written by DCI Judge Jay Kennedy. Legendary Hall of Fame sportscaster Curt Gowdy joined me for a 5-year run that started at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas.
What's a sportscaster doing here? Well, this is a world championship competition, and I've been a drum and bugle corps fan for a long time.
It was an honor to work with Curt, who had called some of the greatest World Series and Super Bowl moments in sports. It was my job to guide him through our unique world of drum corps. It wasn't always the smoothest, but we did okay, and Curt came to really enjoy it. '94 saw the advent of the three Goombas. DeLucia joined Cesario and Rondinero. Look out, drum corps fans. Oh boy, did we have some laughs working together. Dennis started out working the parking lot. We figured it was a great idea to put a drum guy inside the Blue Devil Hornline warm-up circle for his first report.
Let's give a listen.
This trio carried on through '98, with IBM stepping in as the producing entity. It was a time of vintage Cesarioisms.
That swashbuckle.
Like taking a bath in chocolate.
Blair was back in the control room to stay in '99. The PBS show had evolved from 5 hours live to a 2-hour post-produced highlight show. We eventually let Dennis into the broadcast booth, and we brought in a great rotation of recent former age-outs to give us a fresh perspective from the sideline. In 2004, we also hit the big screen.
Our first ever DCI Regal Cinecast. This is going to be a fun night.
We were live for 5 hours with the Thursday night prelims on hundreds of movie screens across the country in glorious surround sound. It was a dramatic change for the broadcast team. Instead of doing the finals at the end of the week, we had to be ready to go on night number 1. We were also National Cinemedia's second ever live show that year. This was new to them too. The first event was a Black Eyed Peas concert. But our show went well. So well that we're still doing it in 2022.
Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
2005 saw another change. DCI on ESPN, where we really sold the sports-like excitement of our competitive music and marching arts form for the next 3 years. We drew an audience, but the expense of the airtime and performance right fees became cost-prohibitive. We zeroed in on the theater productions, adding the tour premiere show in 2011 from what felt like an outdoor blast furnace in Round Rock, Texas. It was a gamble, but the Corps stepped up, making sure they were ready early, and the fans showed up in the theaters hungry for a fresh dose of drum corps, even if it was shown on a one-day delay. The next 3 years from Akron, Ohio were delayed 2 days before hitting theaters. It was a lot of fun trying to sit on the scores until the show aired. Then we went to Indy and the familiar confines of Lucas Oil Stadium in 2015 and said, let's go live. In 2018, we moved to Detroit's Ford Field, where the 2022 season finds us once again for DCI's 50th. We also supply the feed for the Championship Week webcasts along with a live finals wrap-up show. No matter what we do, the goal is always the same: to show our drum corps at their very best.
It's all about making drum corps look like marching music's major league on every level, whether it's the stories, whether it's the coverage, whether it's the athleticism.
After 25 years as a faithful sidekick, my buddy Dennis retired. The stories we can tell.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'll tell you what, they need to change the title of that last tune. C-Jam Blues was C-Jam Rocks tonight. That was very, very hot from this perspective.
I've welcomed former Phantom drum major Will Pitts and visual designer Lindsay Vento to the booth. Like our activity, the broadcast team, what we do and how we do it has evolved and will continue to do so. The change in technology alone has been daunting. I hope one thing that doesn't change is the guy who's been blessed to host all manner of DCI broadcasts for 45 years. I don't think he'd know what to do with himself come August.
Good night. Thank you.